Chlorophyll chromatography. Look at any well-kept garden and you'll see a wide variety of plants. Brightly colored flowers and healthy green leaves harness light from the sun. As you know, sunlight is a form of electromagnetic radiation. In the electromagnetic spectrum, visible light covers a range of different wavelengths. These wavelengths of light each produce a different color. Plants are made up of many different pigments, and each pigment reflects certain colors of light and absorbs other colors. That means that each plant pigment absorbs specific wavelengths of electromagnetic radiation. Is there a way to see the pigments that absorb sunlight in plant leaves? We're going to answer this question in just a minute by performing a simple experiment. Before we get started, remember, never touch or taste anything in the lab. Handle glassware carefully and always wear your lab coat and safety goggles. Also, make sure you have your science journal handy to take notes and record results. Okay, we'll get started by assembling the equipment that we'll need. A piece of coffee filter paper or chromatography paper, 15 milliliters of 95% ethyl alcohol, a pinch of sand, 2 toothpicks, a mortar and pestle, a 50 milliliter graduated cylinder, a 250 milliliter beaker, a test tube and rack, plastic wrap, a ruler, pencil, and scissors. I'm also going to need 5 to 10 fresh spinach leaves. First, I'm going to cut the spinach leaves into small pieces with the scissors. Now I'll put these pieces into the mortar and grind them up with a pestle for about a minute. I'll add a pinch of sand and 10 milliliters of the ethyl alcohol. We add the sand as an abrasive to help break up the spinach leaves into smaller pieces. The ethyl alcohol is added because chlorophyll dissolves in ethyl alcohol, but not in water. The ethyl alcohol is going to help us draw the pigments out of the leaves. Be careful with the ethyl alcohol since it's flammable. Keep it away from any open flames. And it's really important to be in a well-ventilated room too. Now I'll put this mixture into the beaker, cover it with the plastic wrap, and leave it for about 10 minutes. This will allow the ethyl alcohol to work on dissolving the chlorophyll. 10 minutes are up. Now I'll cut a thin strip of the paper, making sure it's longer than the test tube. We're going to create a color graph on the paper. I'll roll one end around the toothpick to hold it in place. This end goes into the test tube, and the toothpick rests across the top. The paper should not touch the bottom of the test tube. I'll take it out and measure 1 to 2 centimeters from this end of the paper and draw a line across it. With the other toothpick, I'm going to put a small drop of the liquid from the spinach mixture on the pencil line. By placing this drop on the line, we know where our pigment started and we'll be able to measure how far the pigments moved. Now I'm going to pour 5 milliliters of the ethyl alcohol into the test tube. The filter paper goes back into the test tube. I'll cover it with plastic wrap, leave it here, and wait 20 minutes. Our spinach solution contains plant pigments and ethyl alcohol. As the alcohol comes into contact with the paper, it will progress up the paper. This is due to the attraction between the molecules in the alcohol and in the paper. As the ethyl alcohol moves, it will take the dissolved chlorophyll pigments with it. We should start to see a pigment line on our paper. 20 minutes have passed, so now I'll remove the paper and let it dry. Now that the paper is dry, you can really see the different bands of pigment. Plant leaves usually have chlorophyll B and 2 or 3 other pigments. The more pigments they have, the more they're able to absorb light in every part of the light spectrum. I'm going to draw the different bands of pigment for spinach in my science journal. I'll label the lines with the name of the pigments. I used green spinach leaves, but what if we used yellow or red leaves? What colors would appear on the paper? Do plants that have more bands grow faster since they absorb more light? Maybe I'll try that next time. Oh, for me? You shouldn't have. These are definitely not spinach leaves.